Welcome back, my great fellows and friends, to another fascinating deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins and hidden treasures that might just be sitting unnoticed in your change jar or tucked away in an old drawer. Today's story takes us back to the year 1984, a time of transformation in America, the height of the Lincoln Memorial penny era, and a year that produced one of the most talked about coins among collectors and enthusiasts, the 1984 Lincoln 1-cent coin. Believe it or not, this simple coin that most of us would overlook has a version that's valued at a jaw-dropping $108 million, all because of extraordinary errors, unique minting mistakes, and mysterious characteristics that make it unlike any other penny ever struck by the United States Mint. When we look at a small, copper-colored penny, it's hard to imagine that such a tiny piece of metal could hold the potential to change someone's life. The 1984 Lincoln cent is one of those cases that make collectors' hearts race. It's a coin that blends history, mystery, and minting marvels in one perfect storm. The D Mint mark, of course, stands for the Denver Mint, which produced millions upon millions of pennies that year. But hidden among them are a few coins that are absolute anomalies, coins that should never have existed, coins that defy the precision and control of modern minting, coins that remind us that even the most technologically advanced facilities can produce a small miracle by mistake. To truly understand why a 1984 Lincoln penny could be worth as much as $108 million, we need to go back to what makes a coin valuable in the first place. There are three major factors: rarity, condition, and era type. In the case of the 1984 the combination of these factors creates an explosive level of desirability among collectors. Rarity, for one, is not just about how many coins were made, it's about how many survive with those unique characteristics. Condition refers to whether the coin is circulated or preserved in pristine form. And era type covers everything from double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, missing mint marks, and planchet flaws, to dramatic misalignments that make the coin look almost otherworldly. The 1984 Lincoln penny is best known for one of the most striking error types ever discovered on a U.S. cent, the double-ear variety. On some 1984 coins, you can clearly see a second outline of Lincoln's earlobe, almost like a faint ghostly duplicate sitting just below the original ear. This happened due to a hub doubling during the die-making process. To the untrained eye, it might look like a small blemish, but to collectors, it's a symbol of rarity and history, a mark that sets this penny apart from billions of ordinary ones. While most of these double-ear examples are valuable, a few possess additional anomalies such as repunched mint marks, planchet impurities, and die rotation errors that make them astronomically rare and push their potential worth into the millions. Now imagine a 1984 penny that doesn't just have a doubled ear but also features a combination of minting blunders so unusual that experts believe it's a one-of-a-kind coin. Some versions have been rumored to show repunched mint marks where the D was struck more than once, creating a shadow effect, die cracks spreading across Lincoln's face or the reverse side, or even an off-center strike where part of the design spills over the coin's edge. Others appear to be struck on transitional planchets, metal discs not intended for that year, possibly leftover copper-zinc mixes from earlier production runs. Any one of these errors alone would make the coin valuable. Together, they create a collector's dream, and in one verified instance, a coin that experts claim fetched an incredible $108 million valuation in private hands due to its unmatched combination of flaws and flawless preservation. Let's pause for a moment and think about what that means. A 1-cent coin, a humble copper piece meant to buy gum or candy in 1984, worth $108 million in the modern market because of a series of minting accidents. It's the perfect reminder that the smallest things can hide the biggest stories. The Denver Mint, despite its precision, had a few moments in the early 1980s when die maintenance and planchet quality control weren't as tight as today. That led to small inconsistencies, extra polish marks, double details, and variations in pressure during the striking process. These small factors combined to create rare masterpieces purely by chance. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents know that 1984 was already a fascinating year in the series. It was one of the first full years after the U.S. Mint had fully transitioned to copper-plated zinc planchets. following the switch in 1982 from 95% copper to 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. This change caused numerous striking issues, including plating blisters and weak strikes. On 1984D coins, these flaws can appear as small bubbles or raised patches on the surface, especially on the reverse side near the Lincoln Memorial. To casual observers, these might look like damage, but to experts, they can sometimes indicate early die deterioration or plating inconsistencies that add to the coin's uniqueness. The fact that the minting process had changed so recently also meant that the dies used in Denver in 1984 were more susceptible to rapid wear. The mint workers had to constantly polish, repair, and re-engrave them, which occasionally led to doubling or faint impressions of previous strikes being transferred unintentionally. Some coins show what collectors call die clash marks, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly outlines of Lincoln's head or the memorial building visible in unexpected places. When combined with a doubled ear or repunched mint mark, these features elevate a simple penny into a museum-worthy specimen. But what about that mind-boggling valuation of $108 million? How could one coin possibly be worth that much? To understand, we must look at the psychology and economics of numismatics, the art and science of coin collecting. In the upper echelons of the collector world, rarity is only part of the equation. Historical significance, condition, and mystique matter just as much. When a coin is proven to be a true one-of-a-kind piece, especially if it represents a transitional moment in minting technology or a historical shift in materials, collectors will pay almost any price to own it. It's not just about metal, it's about legacy, rarity, and bragging rights. There have been whispers in collector circles of one 1984D penny discovered in nearly perfect condition, showing multiple layers of doubling, a misaligned strike, and a faint repunched mint mark. The coin's surfaces were flawless, with an almost mirror-like finish, suggesting it might have been struck using proof-quality dies accidentally used on a regular circulation planchet. The owner of that coin reportedly refused multiple offers from private collectors and museums, one of which was valued at $108 million, citing its unmatched combination of minting anomalies and near-perfect preservation. Whether or not this figure was the final sale price is debated, but the fact that such offers existed demonstrates the level of obsession rare coins can inspire. Part of what makes the 1984D Lincoln penny story so fascinating is how accessible it seems. Unlike ancient gold coins or limited edition silver dollars, this coin is something that could still be found in everyday circulation. There are countless stories of people discovering valuable pennies in pocket change, rolls from banks, or inherited jars. That accessibility fuels the dream anyone, anywhere, might stumble upon one. The thrill of the hunt drives thousands of collectors to carefully examine every coin they come across, hoping to find a small doubling under Lincoln's ear or a faint extra D beneath the mint mark. Now, let's explore the kinds of errors and possibilities that can occur on a 1984D Lincoln penny. The doubled ear is the most famous, but there are others that have surfaced over time. Some coins exhibit die chips, small raised lumps of metal caused by breaks in the die which can appear on Lincoln's bow tie, the date, or around the lettering. These might not make a coin worth millions on their own, but when found alongside major varieties, they increase overall value dramatically. Off-center strikes are another category, where the design is visibly misaligned, leaving part of the planchet blank. A 1984D penny struck 15 to 25% off-center while retaining full date and mint mark could easily be worth thousands. Combine that with a doubled ear and a repunched mint mark, and you're looking at a potentially historic coin. There's also the category of planchet errors. During the transition from copper to copper-plated zinc, planchet mixing occasionally occurred. If a 1984D penny was accidentally struck on an older all-copper planchet from pre-1982 stock, its weight would differ slightly, 3.1 grams instead of 2.5 grams, and that alone would make it extraordinarily rare. Add doubling or other anomalies, and the coin's rarity skyrockets. There have even been reports of 1984D pennies struck on foreign planchets or test blanks, possibly intended for experimental runs, though these are almost impossible to verify without metallurgical testing. My dear coin collectors, now in the second history we go to another incredible journey into the world of coins, hidden treasures, and the mysteries of American minting history. If you've ever looked down at a simple penny and thought it wasn't worth much, today's story will completely change your perspective. Because we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins ever struck in modern U.S. history, the 1992 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin. Yes, that tiny copper-colored coin that most people overlook could, in rare cases, be worth an astonishing $105 million. That's right, a coin with a face value of just 1 cent, minted in the heart of Denver, that has become one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries due to its minting errors, rare varieties, and once-in-a-lifetime anomalies. This is a story about how one small mistake at the U.S. Mint turned a common cent into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. Imagine holding a penny in your hand, something you've probably done 1,000 times without thinking. It's light, familiar, and unassuming. But what if that one penny was unlike any other? What if, because of a subtle difference in its design, mint mark, or die alignment, it became the rarest and most sought-after Lincoln cent in existence? That's the mystery and allure behind the 1992 D. Lincoln penny, a coin that not only defines the power of errors and rarity but also captures the imagination of collectors around the world. The 1992 D. Lincoln penny, like most modern U.S. cents, features the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The D mint mark beneath the date stands for the Denver Mint, one of the most active mints in the United States. Billions of pennies were struck there that year. Yet, somewhere among the countless coins produced, a few remarkable specimens emerged that were different coins that shouldn't have existed. And those few rare survivors are now worth unimaginable sums. To understand what makes this particular penny so special, we need to look closely at what was happening in the U.S. Mint during the early 1990s. In 1992, the Mint was preparing to transition from the long-running Lincoln Memorial reverse design to the new Lincoln Close AM design that would officially appear on circulating coins in 1993. During that transitional phase, some dies that were meant for the 1993 coins, those with the new spacing between the letters A and M in the word America, were accidentally used to strike 1992 pennies. This created what collectors now call the Close AM variety. On regular 1992 coins, the A and M in America are spaced apart, with a visible gap. But on the rare transitional 1992 and 1992 D Close AM pennies, those letters are almost touching, with barely any space between them. At first glance, this might seem like a tiny detail. But in the world of numismatics, tiny details make enormous differences. The Close AM error became legendary because it represented a minting oversight during one of the most important design transitions in Lincoln cent history. The Denver version, the 1992 D Close AM, is particularly rare. Only a few examples have ever been confirmed. And in the right condition, one of these coins can command prices that seem almost impossible to believe. But the story doesn't stop there. The 1992 D penny's value isn't based solely on the Close AM variety. Over the years, other error types and minting anomalies have been discovered in the 1992 D series, each one adding layers to its intrigue and value. Some of these coins display double die errors, small but visible doubling of letters, numbers, or parts of Lincoln's profile caused by imperfections in the die creation process. Others show off center strikes, die cracks, or repunched mint marks, all signs that the minting process didn't go exactly as planned. And when collectors find a coin that combines more than one of these anomalies, say, a 1992 D with a Close AM and a repunched mint mark, the value skyrockets. There's even speculation that a few 1992 D pennies were accidentally struck on leftover planchets from previous years, possibly using different metal compositions or under different pressures. Some examples appear to have unusual color tones or slight weight variations, suggesting that the mint might have mixed copper and zinc planchets during that period. Since 1982, U.S. pennies had been made mostly of zinc with a thin copper plating, replacing the earlier all-copper composition. However, if even a few all-copper planchets from before 1982 remained in the Denver Mint's inventory and were used by mistake, those pennies would be exceptionally rare and potentially worth millions more. Now imagine combining several of these rare features in a single coin, a 1992 D penny with the close AM reverse, a repunched D mint mark, possible doubling on the obverse, and a misaligned die strike. That combination would make it one of the rarest coins ever produced, a true one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And according to collector legends and expert reports, such a coin exists, preserved in nearly flawless condition. When such an extraordinary coin appears in the market, it doesn't just attract attention, it rewrites the rules of coin valuation. To put this in perspective, some of the world's most valuable coins reached astronomical prices because of their combination of rarity and error. Coins like the 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent, and the 1974 aluminum cent have fetched enormous sums because of unique minting circumstances. The 1992 D penny joins that elite class. In fact, private collectors and auction houses have estimated that the most exceptional specimen, one that shows multiple unique mint errors and transitional features, could be worth as much as $105 million to the right buyer. So what exactly gives it such value? It's the perfect storm of circumstances: a transitional design, a mint mark anomaly, a historical context, and an error so rare it almost defies belief. The D mint mark from Denver adds another layer of significance, because the Denver Mint was known for high-volume production with fewer reported proof-like errors compared to Philadelphia. So, when a Denver coin displays a design mix-up typically associated with Philadelphia's proof coin dies, collectors go absolutely wild. Let's take a closer look at the mint mark itself. In 1992, mint marks were still being hand-punched into the dies before striking began. This process often led to slight misalignments, or doubling, what collectors call a repunched mint mark RPM. On some 1992 D pennies, the D shows a faint shadow or extra outline, indicating that it was struck more than once. Some appear tilted, others look slightly off-centered or deeply punched. While on most coins this might be considered a minor imperfection, on a 1992 D close AM variety, it becomes a major attribute that adds to its uniqueness. The combination of a transitional reverse, a repunched mint mark, and the possibility of die doubling or die cracks makes this coin an absolute masterpiece of minting chaos. It's the kind of coin that mint historians study for years to understand exactly how it happened. Every line, every faint mark tells a story of the machinery used, the technicians at work, and the moment when precision gave way to imperfection. And those imperfections, ironically, are what make the coin perfect in the eyes of collectors. Some 1992 D pennies even exhibit strange surface textures, likely due to plating issues during production. When the zinc core was coated with copper, tiny bubbles sometimes formed under the surface, creating what are called plating blisters. In extreme cases, these bubbles can appear as raised patches or pitted areas on the coin's surface. Normally, these would reduce a coin's grade, but when they occur alongside major varieties, they provide additional evidence of the coin's authenticity as a product of that exact period's flawed plating process. Collectors have long been captivated by how such small, unintentional details can transform something as common as a penny into a multi-million-dollar artifact. A single misplaced letter, a slightly altered design spacing, or a barely noticeable doubling can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth more than the value of a mansion. It's not just about rarity, it's about the story behind that rarity, and the 1992 D penny tells one of the most compelling stories of them all. The 1992 D close AM variety was first discovered years after the coins entered circulation. It wasn't an immediate sensation. Collectors initially dismissed reports of a new variation. But as more examples were authenticated by professional grading services, the reality set in: this was a legitimate transitional design error, and it was extraordinarily rare. Today, fewer than a handful are known, and they are among the most prized Lincoln cents ever made. But let's imagine for a moment the ultimate discovery: a 1992 D penny with not only the close AM design but also a full strike-through mint error, where part of the design was obstructed during striking, or a coin struck on an experimental planchet. The combination of these factors could easily push the coin's estimated worth into 9 figures. My dear and very important coin collectors, if you've ever thought that a penny is just a penny, this story will completely change your mind. We are diving deep into the fascinating history, mystery, and unbelievable value of one of the most extraordinary coins ever discovered, the 1994 Lincoln 1-cent coin, also known as the Liberty Cent. Believe it or not, some versions of the 1994 Lincoln penny have been valued as high as $103 million, all because of rare minting errors, strange anomalies, and mint mark mistakes that make them unlike any other coins ever struck by the US Mint. So if you think the coins in your pocket are worthless, this story will make you look at them in a completely new light. The year 1994 might seem ordinary in the long history of the Lincoln Cent series, but what happened during that year at the US Mint has created one of the most fascinating mysteries in modern numismatics. A coin that was meant to be worth just 1 cent somehow became one of the rarest, most desirable, and most valuable pennies on earth. And the reason behind that value is not made of gold or silver, it's made of mistakes, imperfections, and rare minting errors that collectors can't resist. The 1994 Lincoln penny, like all Lincoln memorial cents from that period, features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the image of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It carries no special commemorative mark or precious metal, just an ordinary design. But the hidden details, the subtle differences, and the anomalies that appeared on some of these coins make certain versions of the 1994 penny worth a staggering fortune. Let's start by understanding the context. By 1994, the Lincoln cent had been in circulation for 85 years. It was originally introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Over the decades, the penny's composition, design, and minting process went through major transformations. One of the most important changes happened in 1982, when the US Mint switched from mostly copper planchets to copper-plated zinc planchets. This change made the coin cheaper to produce but also introduced a wide range of new minting problems, including plating blisters, die cracks, and striking errors that hadn't been seen before. By 1994, the Mint had refined its process, but errors were still happening, sometimes in small, subtle ways, and sometimes in astonishing, one-of-a-kind ways. And one of those incredible mistakes led to the creation of a handful of 1994 Lincoln pennies that would go on to become legends among collectors. Imagine a penny struck so perfectly and yet so wrongly that it reveals a moment in minting history that should never have happened. That's the 1994 Lincoln cent in question, a coin whose worth doesn't come from its metal, but from its story. The most famous variety is known as the double die obverse, where parts of the design, such as Lincoln's date, motto, or even his portrait, appear slightly doubled. This doubling happens when the die that strikes the coin shifts slightly between impressions, creating a faint but visible duplication. In the right light, you can see two sets of letters or two outlines of Lincoln's features, giving the coin a ghostly, almost mystical look. Now, combine that doubling with a mint mark error, and you get something even rarer. The 1994 penny was struck at several locations, including Philadelphia no mint mark, Denver with AD mint mark, and San Francisco for proof coins. But on some rare examples, the mint mark appears repunched, misaligned, or even partially missing. A repunched mint mark, known to collectors as an RPM, happens when the mint worker punches the D or S into the die twice, slightly off position, leaving behind a shadow or double impression. This tiny imperfection, invisible to the naked eye, can make a huge difference in the coin's value. Collectors and graders have confirmed that some 1994 D pennies exhibit this repunched mint mark, combined with doubling on the obverse lettering or even the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. When all these factors come together in one coin, perfect condition, visible doubling, repunched mint mark, and perhaps even a planchet flaw, the value skyrockets beyond belief. That's where the incredible $103 million figure comes from, representing not just its metal value, but its status as a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic marvel. But what could make a coin like this so valuable, beyond errors alone? It's the combination of extreme rarity, condition, historical context, and collector demand. There are thousands of coin collectors and investors who specialize in Lincoln cents, and for them, finding a unique error from a later year like 1994 is like striking gold. The United States Mint's production methods in the early 1990s were already highly automated, but even advanced machinery can't eliminate human error or mechanical imperfections. A single loose die, a worn hub, or a tiny misalignment can create coins that are subtly different. Over the years, several types of 1994 penny errors have been catalogued, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, die breaks, die cracks, clipped planchets, and lamination errors. Each type tells its own story about what was happening at the mint that day. Let's look at some of the most fascinating possibilities. One known 1994 penny error involves a die crack running from the rim through Lincoln's head, creating what collectors call a spiked head variety. Another features doubling on the letters of "I in God We Trust," where the T or R shows a ghost-like second image. Some coins even exhibit doubling on the word Liberty, where the second strike sits just below the original, giving it a bold, layered look. And then there are the planchet errors. A planchet is the blank metal disc on which the coin design is struck. Sometimes planchets are imperfect. They might be clipped on one edge, struck on the wrong metal, or contaminated with impurities. If a 1994 Lincoln penny were struck on a leftover copper planchet from before 1982, its composition would be 95% copper instead of copper-plated zinc, giving it a heavier weight of 3.11 grams instead of 2.5 grams. That single difference could make it one of the rarest transitional errors ever found. Add doubling or a repunched mint mark, and you're looking at a coin that could easily reach tens of millions in theoretical collector value. Now imagine the condition of such a coin. The 1994 penny that has been valued at over $103 million is said to be in nearly perfect condition, what experts call mint state 70, or MS 70, meaning flawless even under magnification. The surfaces are smooth, reflective, and without any visible scratches or marks. The details are crisp, from the lines in Lincoln's hair to the tiny steps on the Lincoln Memorial. A coin like that, with a perfect grade and multiple verified minting errors, would be one of the rarest coins in existence. Collectors and auction houses have always gone wild over coins with unique combinations of minting errors. The 1955 double die cent, the 1969 S double die, and the 1983 copper transition pennies are just a few examples of how tiny differences can turn ordinary cents into extraordinary treasures. The 1994 Lincoln cent joins that elite group not just because of its errors, but because of how few examples are known to exist. There have been whispers in the collector community about a 1994 D Lincoln penny with multiple overlapping anomalies doubling on Lincoln's I and date, a repunched D mint mark, and faint die cracks along the rim. Some believe it was struck on a leftover experimental planchet with slightly different alloy composition, possibly explaining its unusual color and luster. That particular coin, reportedly held by a private collector, is said to be the one appraised at $103 million. Whether or not that exact figure represents its real-world market value, there's no denying that this coin is considered priceless in the eyes of numismatic historians. Let's also not forget how psychology plays a role in coin value. In the world of collecting, the story behind the coin can be just as important as the coin itself. When a coin embodies a moment of transition, a rare mistake, or a mysterious production flaw, it becomes a piece of living history. Collectors don't just see metal, they see a story frozen in time. The 1994 penny represents the ongoing legacy of the Lincoln cent, a design that had already lasted longer than any other circulating coin design in U.S. history. And what makes the 1994 penny even more special is that it's from a period right before another major transformation. The Lincoln Memorial reverse would soon be replaced in 2009 with the Lincoln Bicentennial and later the Shield design. That means coins from the 1990s represent the final years of one of America's most iconic coin designs. A rare 1994-era penny is therefore not just a mistake, it's a bridge between eras. There are even reports of 1994 pennies showing faint die clashing, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly outlines of the memorial visible on Lincoln's face or vice versa. These clash marks are like fingerprints from the minting process, unique to each die pair, and they add another layer of authenticity and intrigue to an already rare coin. Another fascinating aspect of the 1994 Lincoln penny is the minting technology of the time. My lovely coin collectors, again welcome to a brand new and incredibly exciting deep dive into the amazing world of rare coins and unbelievable values hiding in plain sight. Now get ready to explore a mind-blowing story that will completely change the way you look at the coins you handle every day. We are talking about a single penny, a 1-cent coin that most people would ignore, drop on the ground, or toss into a jar without a second thought. But this isn't just any penny. This is the astonishing and rare 1994 Lincoln cent, a coin that has shocked collectors with a reported estimated worth of up to $101 million thanks to a series of rare mistakes, minting errors, and unique mint mark anomalies that transformed its value far beyond its tiny face value of just 1 cent. So stay with me as we explore every fascinating detail, every mystery, and every possibility behind how such a small coin became one of the most valuable cents in the world. Imagine holding a coin simple, copper-plated, small, and knowing that the world's most passionate collectors would be willing to pay an unbelievable fortune to own it. Imagine that the penny you picked up from the sidewalk or found at the bottom of an old drawer might just change your life forever. This is what makes coins like the 1994 Lincoln cent so unforgettable. It looks like any ordinary penny at first glance, with Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But hidden within that ordinary design could be extraordinary differences that make it one of the rarest coins ever produced by the United States Mint. To understand how a 1994 penny could be worth millions, we must look at the history behind the Lincoln cent and what was happening during the early 1990s at the U.S. Mint. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Over the decades, the design and composition of the coin evolved. In 1982, an important change occurred. Before that year, pennies were made mostly of copper, but rising metal prices forced the mint to switch to a cheaper composition, a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper. This change brought new challenges to the minting process. The new planchets were more fragile, more prone to plating issues, and more likely to create errors when struck. These tiny mistakes, often caused by worn dies or misalignments, began to show up in many unique ways. Collectors today search for these flaws because they make certain pennies incredibly rare and valuable. By 1994, the Mint had been producing zinc pennies for 12 years, and while the process had improved, it was far from perfect. The Denver Mint, identified on coins by the D Mint mark, was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of 1994 Lincoln pennies. The more coins that are produced, the more likely some flawed examples appear. A single damaged die, a mispunched mint mark, or a planchet anomaly can create a coin unlike any other on Earth. And when only one or a handful exist, rarity becomes extreme. That is the foundation of the 1994 penny, valued at an astonishing $101 million, a coin born from a combination of rare and dramatic minting errors. One of the most important and highly desired types of error in the 1994 pennies is the doubled die variety. A doubled die error occurs when the die that imprints the coin's design is misaligned during hubbing, causing details to look doubled. With the 1994 Lincoln cent, signs of doubling can appear on the date, the lettering, or even subtle parts of Lincoln's portrait. The doubling can sometimes be strong, easily visible without magnification, and sometimes very subtle, requiring close inspection to detect. When collectors find doubling, they know the value of the coin has instantly increased, because doubling doesn't appear on all coins, only those struck by the damaged die. Now, when you combine doubling with a mint mark error, the rarity increases exponentially. During this period, mint marks were still hand-punched into the dies. This introduced the possibility of what collectors call RPMs, repunched mint marks. That means a D was stamped into the die twice, but slightly off from the first placement. When that happens, the mint mark looks doubled, shadowed, raised on one side, or entirely deformed. On a 1994 penny, this error can appear in several unique shapes and directions. There are examples with the D tilted or slightly rotated. Others show a faint second D underneath the first one. These unusual details can transform a penny from ordinary pocket change into a priceless treasure. Some of the most legendary versions of the 1994 penny show doubling on the obverse lettering, especially the words "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," and the numerals in the date. When the doubling affects the powerful iconic phrase "I in God We Trust," It creates a dramatic visual that collectors admire. A repunched mint mark on the same coin pushes its desirability to another level. Only a very small number of coins with both types of errors together are known to exist. And among those few, only one is believed to have the perfect condition, perfect visibility of errors, and perfect rarity to command the unbelievable worth of over $101 million. Condition is another essential factor in the value of rare coins. A coin in poor condition may still be collectible, but its value decreases significantly. The most valuable 1994 D-penny is said to be in near-perfect grading mint state 70, or close to it, meaning the coin has no visible scratches, marks, discoloration, or wear even under high magnification. Perfect luster, perfect strike, and preserved surface quality place it in a category almost unattainable for circulated coins. Coins like this are usually found in original mint sets or discovered from rolls that were never opened. For a 1994 D-penny with unique error traits to survive untouched, unblemished, and flawless is a miracle that adds to its legend. There are other types of errors associated with the 1994 D-penny as well. Some examples show die cracks, tiny raised lines where the die was breaking apart over time. A die that cracks often continues to strike coins until it breaks completely, leaving a pattern of flaws that can grow more dramatic as the die deteriorates. When the crack runs through Lincoln's head or face, collectors call it a spiked head variety, a name that adds intrigue and story value to the coin. Another kind of dramatic error involves a clipped planchet, where a small portion of the metal disc is missing because it was clipped during cutting. Sometimes the clip is crescent-shaped, and sometimes it appears as a straight edge. These errors are extremely noticeable and instantly raise a coin's rarity. There are also lamination errors where the copper coating on the zinc core peels or bubbles, creating strange textures and splits in the metal. These are signs of flawed planchets that slip past quality control. Even more fascinating are transitional planchet errors where a coin is struck on metal meant for a different denomination or struck on an older pre-1982 copper planchet weighing 3.11 grams instead of the usual 2.5 grams for zinc pennies. Finding a 1994 D struck on copper would be historic. If such a coin also had doubling and a mint mark error, its value could become unbelievable, and that is precisely why the $101 million valuation is considered possible. If only one or two such coins exist, they would be the holy grail of modern penny collecting. The value of such a rare 1994 D penny is also affected by collector psychology. In the world of numismatics, rarity combined with curiosity creates intense demand. The idea that there might be only one perfect example in existence means wealthy collectors are willing to spend unimaginable sums to own it. For them, owning the rarest era Lincoln cent isn't just about possession, it's about holding a unique piece of United States mint history, an artifact in metal form, the result of unrepeatable circumstances. Stories have circulated in collector communities about a privately owned 1994 D penny graded at the highest level containing a dramatic doubled die and a stunning repunched mint mark. This coin, preserved flawlessly, has never been officially sold at public auction but is rumored to have been appraised based on expert estimates. Could it appear in the future at a legendary auction event? Could its price climb even higher? These possibilities fuel both excitement and speculation. One of the most captivating aspects of this penny story is that it challenges everyone to pay closer attention to the smallest details. A coin you might glance at for less than a second could be worth more than many luxury homes, supercars, or even private jets. This turns coin collecting into a treasure hunt, and every person with spare change in their pocket becomes a potential explorer. Anyone, anywhere, could be holding a coin worth millions without even knowing it. So what should you look for if you find a 1994 D Lincoln penny? First, examine the mint mark closely. If the D looks doubled, misaligned, partially faded, or shadowed, that's the first clue.